All right, I have the recording started. Threatened to buy KFC? No, that would probably keep them there. So I have the recording started. I think we're good to go. Welcome back from your brief but well-deserved vacation. How do you win an argument at Thanksgiving this year? It's really very simple. You just hit the end call button. At least that's the kind of Thanksgiving I had this year. We Zoomed in with my family, or actually FaceTimed in with my family. It was nice to get together with everybody. My son had just come back from his college a few days prior, so he was still under quarantine. I'll give you one more, just as a bonus, since we missed class on Thursday, Thanksgiving Day. I think my favorite food for Thanksgiving is pie, but some of my friends say that that's irrational. So I think that's about as good as it gets. You have to have a pie joke at least once a semester. There's mine. Let's see. Today we have a bunch of stuff to talk about, so we'll go into it. First thing is, we're getting some questions for exam 3 that are being sent to Professor Uzmer and myself. We would really prefer to answer all questions rather than answering them by email, where we may give different answers. If you have a specific answer that is a question, it shouldn't be about the exam. If you have a specific question that involves your grades or something like that, please send email to cs1instructors@cs.lists.rpi.edu. That's right at the front of our. Don't know why that didn't push over to Lecture23 recursion, but it didn't. Yeah, so if you have a question specific to your grades or something, please feel free to email CS1 Instructors. It's right here at the top of our webpage. Right, CS1 Instructors, CS1 Instructors, CS1 Instructors. But if you have a question about the exam, or basically about anything else that doesn't have to reveal code or your grades, please make that in the discussion forum. And particularly for the exam, that's pretty important. And the reason is that we want to let all of you have the same information. So we may or may not decide to answer specific questions, but to the extent we do, we want to answer them in a public forum so that all of you have the same information going in, and we don't have confusion with different people having different conceptions of what's going on. That also means that keeping up with the discussion forum is pretty important right now. It's been a pretty vibrant place for discussion multiple times during this semester. I think there were only like 8 messages. It took me a grand total of 15 minutes to read everything that I didn't need to respond to, and not much longer than that to respond to everything as well when I got back after vacation or after a couple of days off. So there's not a big, if you keep up with it, it's not a big investment of time right now. And it's where we're going to be answering questions about the exam. You'll see a lot of emails back from us saying, if you want this answered, please post it to the discussion forum. And that's so that you all have the same information. Hopefully you've been following it, in which case you know that today we're going to cover recursion. We're not going to cover TK inner. The reason for that is, well, if you've looked at your exam 3, you will find out that there is a problem on there where a lecture in recursion may actually be helpful. And your next lab is going to actually touch on aspects of both TK inner and on recursion. Most of the focus will be on recursion. So I think we can delay the TK inner part until Thursday. You'll still be able to do the lab. And if you are confused, by Thursday, the lab, as long as you show up and get marked for attendance, spend your time there working on the lab, get marked as having attended. You have until the next Monday to actually turn in that last point, so you will have time to work on it. Your final exam, I don't know what it says on the registrar's site. We have been told that it's 12/16 at 6:30 p.m. We've been told that that will be updated. It seems like it was updated and then unupdated, and now we need to re-update it. Right now, the final exam is on 12/16 at 6:30 p.m. We are talking about how we're going to do it. We will announce the format of the exam probably on Thursday, but certainly before you have a lot of other stuff due. We are also, right now, just to throw this out, we are at about, we have 3 more, exactly, not at about, we have 3 more lectures, including today. We'll talk about recursion. We'll talk about TK inner. The important thing about TK inner is it introduces another way of actually running programs, a little bit different than what you've been working on. It's the way that most apps are developed nowadays. It's kind of a pattern, a design pattern that's pretty popular, pretty useful. So we'll talk about that a little bit, but it also will give you some experience with some graphical programming, drawing and things like that. That's kind of fun. And then the last one is going to be on lambda functions, different arguments to sort, comprehensions, things like that, filter and map and filter, some advanced programming topics that are fun and allow you to play those games where you can make your code very compact. In some instances, you can make it so compact that it's no longer readable, but that's one of the hazards. Anyway, that's kind of the roadmap for the next three lectures: recursion, TK inner, advanced topics in Python. Okay, and then that kind of allows us to introduce things like lambda functions and stuff that are useful and kind of fun. What I skipped in that housekeeping was I want to do a little foray into log notation, and particularly order notation using logs, because there's been a lot of confusion. I've seen a lot of messages fly by. Why is this order of log? Why isn't it natural log? Or why isn't it log base 2 of n? If you'll notice, I never actually specified any base for our log functions. I just said order of n log n, or order of log n, depending upon the particular function. And there's a reason for that. So let me go over to my handy-dandy notebook here, and actually let me bring up my notation. Okay, so let's say we're talking about a log base 10, right? So we have something like log base 10 of r equals some value k. Right? So this implies that r equals 10 to the k. And k doesn't need to be a whole number. It can be a it can be any number you want. It can be whole. It can be a floating point, etc. But the premise is that the value r we have, right? So r would be, for example, our n in our log base n, order of log base n, or order of n log n notation. Right? Well, now let's take the log of r in base 2. Right? So the log of r in base 2 equals the log base 2 of 10 to the k power equals k log base 2 of 10. Okay? So the log base 2 of r equals k log base 2 of 10. And it turns out that this doesn't actually matter, right? This could be e, right? And if this is e, right? Then the E travels down, or it could be 3. Three travels down. Okay, so let's say we have an algorithm that's order of log base 10 of n, right? So our R is now n, right? So that means that all of this carries through. When we get down here, right, our log of our value is still k. Now we just have this constant out in front of it, which is the conversion between the log bases. And this is a constant. So order of log base 10 of R of n. Sorry. So what this implies is that the order of log base 10 of n equals log base 2 of 10 times n, right? Sorry. Sorry about this. I'm getting myself. Order of log base 10 of n is equal to order of log base 2 of n times log base 2 of 10. Well, this is a constant. And in order notation, we always throw out constants. So what it turns out is that when we use order notation, we always do order log of n, or order, and we don't specify the base, or maybe order of n log n. And again, we don't specify the base because to a constant factor, they're all equivalent. All right, so, don't get hung up on the particular log you're using. If you can reduce it to a log function, it doesn't matter. Yeah, if you can reduce it to a log function, it doesn't matter what base you reduce it in. Most of the time when we're talking about this, we're going to be talking about a base 2, log base 2, because for most of our algorithms, we will, essentially if you look at merge, or merge, for example, we figured out that we need log n passes through the algorithm to actually make sure that we have our merge sort works correctly. We had n vector length of n. We had to make log n complete passes through the data in order to ensure it was sorted. Well, that log n was actually log n base 2 because each time we divided our problem in half. If we would have divided our problem into thirds, it would have been log n base 3. But again, it doesn't matter because once we get it into log n, only the constants out in front actually differ. So once you get it into a log base, you can throw out, whatever base you derived it in, and it just becomes an order of log n algorithm. Okay, hopefully that makes some sense. I'm going to paste something into, I don't know, what do I paste it into? Let's paste it into here. Hopefully this is of the right size that this will work, but this is, essentially what we're saying. Let's see, how does that show up? It doesn't, it's not showing up, is it? I just pasted it in. I don't know where it went. I pasted it in somewhere. Ah, there we go. Let me see if I can get this fitting in here. Okay. All right, so hopefully, yeah, most of that's in there. Let me take one more pass at this. Okay, so that's basically what I'm saying. You know, it turns out that all logs are the same within a constant factor, and we discard constant factors in order notation. So, when it comes down to it, it doesn't matter whether we do our derivation in base 10 or we do our derivation in base 2. Everything that I've done so far has been in base 2. I will probably continue in general to derive things in base 2, but in the end it doesn't matter because the base is irrelevant. You can convert from one base to the other. All right, any questions on that? Does that clear anything up? I should have had this pasted in ahead of time, but I didn't actually expect to show that. And then I decided that maybe I should. Other than on my board, because the board's kind of harder to read, I think. But maybe not. All right, so that's basically... I'm getting something that says, are there sample output files for part 2 on exam 3? My understanding was if you downloaded it immediately after it was released, there were not. But if you are still having problems, let me know. But I think if you re-download it, my understanding is that they're there now. I wasn't really involved in that discussion. Professor Mushtaq handled it, so I think that's what the discussion was about. It's possible I'm wrong. But please check that out, and if there are still problems, post it to the discussion forum, and we will get on it. All right? All right, so let's start the real lecture for today. We've got enough stuff to go over today. We don't have to talk about any more about order n log bounds, whether it's base 2 or base 10 or base E.